Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and today we're going to take a look at the legendary EVGA RTX 2060 KO. Is it a knockout? Let's find out. Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at the EVGA RTX 2060 KO. Now this is an upgrade for my own personal rig. I'm currently upgrading from a slightly older now GTX 1070, again from EVGA. Personally, I'm a big fan of EVGA cards. They do seem to last the test of time. They have excellent warranty. These cards come with a 3-year warranty, and actually a nice thing is that actually you can transfer the warranty. So if you decide at some point in maybe a year's time, or maybe when the 3000 series come out that you want to sell the card on, you can actually have a limited transfer warranty, which is something you should definitely look into, and I'll leave the links for that in the video description below. Anyway, back to this card. So this is the legendary EVGA RTX 2060 KO. Now the reason why this is legendary is because when it first came out, it was actually using a slightly different core. Now normally we're used to seeing a particular core in the 2060s, but this one has actually been using the TU104-150 core, which hopefully you've seen from some of the B-roll which has popped up, so you can get an idea of the core. Now essentially this is a core which has been kind of modified or downgraded from the RTX 2080 and also the RTX 2070 Super. Doesn't actually carry forward many of those features, but in certain circumstances and in certain workloads you can see an improvement in performance of up to around about 50%, which is amazing. Those are very specific results, mostly in Blender, but you can also get some slight uplift in other productivity titles. For gaming titles, performance remains exactly the same, and this card, even though this is a reduced price card, these at the moment in the UK retail for around about £270, which is pretty much bang on for what they were originally intended to be, the MSRP. They have fluctuated massively in COVID times, and these have been seen on the market for kind of £330, £340. Now at the moment you can get the KO Ultra version of this around about £300, £310, it's about £40 dearer. But this card itself, actually you can get a little bit of an overclock out of it. It is limited, there is a power restriction on this, but even on the core and the memory you can get the core up maybe another 100 megahertz and the memory another 500 megahertz. So you can still get within those kind of reach of the Ultra edition, so definitely worth bearing in mind. So we're all talking about clocks and memory. This one has a 1680 megahertz boost clock, which is pretty nice. You can get that up to around about the 1750 mark with a little bit of tweaking, which again takes it into the Ultra category. Similar with the memory, we've got GDDR6. This particular card has Samsung chips on it, so obviously quite good quality chips. And again, you can get around about 500 megahertz boost on the RAM speeds. Currently the RAM is 14,000 megahertz, so yeah, you can overclock that a little bit and boost it up a little bit to give you that little bit of extra performance. But Mike, why would you want extra performance? Well, there's a good reason for that, because this is a RTX card. Now for those of you that are new to the game and don't know what RTX is, RTX basically means ray tracing support. So in your favorite games, if they're ray trace optimized or they've got retracing features, you can get more lifelike shadows and lighting effects, all that kind of stuff. Particular games for this are obviously Battlefield 5, Minecraft, those kinds of things. So you do get that extra lifelike lighting effects, which in some games looks amazing. For some people, you may have no interest in it whatsoever, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to use it, but it is an option. And I think as consoles move on, we will be seeing more and more ray tracing coming into the mainstream, especially in the PC market, again, depending on how it takes off in the console wars. So also, as well as ray tracing, this also supports the latest and greatest features from Nvidia. So you've got DirectX 12 Ultra support, you've also got Ansel support, and you've also got things like DLSS 2.0, which basically is a upsampling feature. So you can actually set your graphics card to a lower resolution, but it will look like a higher resolution, which is awesome, especially, again, this is the entry-level RTX card. So if you do put RTX on, because of the overheads involved in the system, it does knock your frame rates. But using DLSS and other features, you can actually reduce your resolution, but still have it looking absolutely brilliant. And talking of looking brilliant, that is not the only thing that this can do. This card also supports the NV encoder, which is the new encoder using the tensor cores and all the new technology inside the RTX cards. So if you're a streamer or you're doing something along those lines, then this will support you and give you much better frames per second in your streams. So if you're planning on maybe gaming and streaming at the same time, you don't now have to have two computers. You can actually make do with one graphics card in your computer and have a really good streaming quality, but also have a very good game quality, which is excellent. So that's enough about some of the features. Let's take the card actually out and take a closer look at it. But actually, before we do that, let's take a quick tour of the box itself. So starting off on the box, we've got the normal EVGA stuff, so EVGA logo, you've got the KO logo on there. The KO was a kind of subcategory which was released a long time ago, in around about 2008, I think it was, around about the 8800 GTO type era. And KO basically was knockout performance or better performance. It's kind of a little bit gimmicky, but it kind of, you get the idea. They're trying to get a lot of out of the card, but putting less into it. So we get slightly reduced features, get slightly reduced fans, slightly more noisy in a lot of cases. It's basically a slightly less refined version than the normal cards, but you still get the same performance, but less features, which kind of makes sense, especially for me being a frugal buyer. Moving down further, we've got the GeForce RTX, and this is actually my first RTX card which I'll be using in a long-term production system. I have had previously cards from Zotac, which we had for review, but that had to go back. Unfortunately, there was an issue, as were a lot of issues with the early RTX cards with memory, etc. So I've kind of avoided it a little bit and waited for the technology to settle down, but now I'm pretty confident this is going to work absolutely fine. So also on the bottom, we've got ray tracing, we've got GDDR6, Ansel support, and DirectX 12 Ultra. Again, the 2060 on the bottom. Moving around onto the back, it goes into a little bit more detail about the individual features. So we've got real-time ray tracing support, we've also got game-ready drivers, all that kind of stuff, support for DirectX 12 API, Vulkan API, OpenGL, etc, etc. It supports loads of features, basically. So let's take it out of the box and take a look. Now, one thing which you normally get with EVGA cards is amazing packaging. Really well packaged and really well protected. And yep, this one seems no different. I've actually had this out and had a quick look and for some of the B-roll for this video. So let's go through it all again. So we get some foam around the outside. Then we get some bubble wrap. And then we get the card itself. And the card itself, I think, looks absolutely brilliant. Now, the cooler they've used on this is one they've basically borrowed off the 1660 and just basically slapped onto a 2060. Again, this is saving costs. Also, another way of saving costs is they've reduced the amount of outputs on the back of the card. So if we take a quick look at those, on the back, we've got a single DisplayPort, we've got a single HDMI, and also we've got a single DVI-D. So if you're looking for a multi-monitor support setup, maybe you want to look for a slightly different version, but if you're using this maybe with just one or two monitors and you're into streaming, gaming, all those kinds of things, and you want to save a few pounds, I think this is definitely worth a look. So moving around to the cooler side, now this card is a 2-slot, 2-fan design. As you can see, we've got the EVGA fans on there, which have got the EVGA logos on them to hopefully enable slightly less noisy airflow, and I guess they put them on there for a reason. So you've got 2 fans on there, and the fans themselves measuring in at right 90mm, so 290mm fans. The actual card itself isn't very long at all. Now the actual card, the full length of it, looking around about 200mm, so actually is quite a small card. And in fact, if you compare this with the other 2060s in the range, essentially the PCB on the back here is pretty much the same. Most of the other cards, the triple fans, etc., the only real difference is the fact that there's overhang to add in those extra fans. So you don't really get much more real estate actually on the printed circuit board or any of the components. You just literally get a bigger heatsink. Now while we're on this side, actually taking a look at the backplate, this is a nice thing to see. Even though this is a budget cut down card, they have actually put on a really nice backplate, again with the GeForce logos, etc., and a little bit of graphical detail on there. The backplate on this actually does serve a purpose. It isn't there just to look pretty. It does actually make contact with the rear areas of the memory, so it will actually aid in cooling down some of the components, which is a good thing because on the other side, when we take off the cooling fan, most of the cooling pads are just basically the chewing gum style, which if you want to find out more about those, I'll put some links in the video description to Steve at Gamers Nexus, who did a full review of this and took it apart, and you can see what the deal is. The TLDR is essentially it doesn't make a great deal of difference. The cooling pads actually do work as they should. It's not ideal situation, but it does the job and it gets it done. Because this card is slightly limited on what you can do overclocking wise, it isn't a big issue. But again, if you're looking for a card which you can overclock the snot out of, then maybe you want to look a little bit higher at the product line anyway. So moving around to the other side of the card, as you can see, you've got the nice EVGA logo and GeForce RTX and 2060 on the end. Actually, I really like the design of this card, even though it is a budget cooler. It really does look nice. It's quite compact and will fit into very small systems, so you don't really have any issues there. And it isn't going to draw a great deal of power. We're looking realistically about 165 watts of power draw on this, and we've got a single 8-pin connector. So for those of you on slightly more limited power supplies and limited headroom on wattage, this should be absolutely fine, but obviously do check with your system and your power supply manufacturer to see if it is capable of running this card. So that is pretty much it for the card and the specs, etc., and a quick tour around the actual card and the looks. Again, I think this is a really nice looking card. It's £270, which is what I actually paid for it from Amazon. I think it's a really good option. It's an unfortunate thing at the moment, there's so many cards available on the market, and obviously you're going to get those people which are kind of pro AMD, pro Nvidia. For me personally, because I'm using this in effectively a production machine, so it's one I do my video editing on, I do my emails, basically do all my work stuff on this PC, so it needs to be reliable, it needs to work, and it needs to ideally use less electricity. Now, because this is an Nvidia card, traditionally they use less wattage. Also, Nvidia drivers, love them or hate them, they do tend to be a lot more reliable and a lot more stable than the AMD alternatives. As we found out on our Discord chat, which of course you're welcome to join, links will be in the video description, pretty much 8 out of 10 people with issues with their systems, it comes down to AMD graphics cards. Drivers for AMD have never been a great thing. They do have their ups and downs, but at the moment they do seem to be not doing particularly well. Also, the competition for this card, which is probably the 5600 XT from AMD and maybe the RX 5700, again, one's slightly lower, one's slightly higher, as in pricing and performance, etc. But they're all within a kind of 5 to 10% margin. So unless you've actually got your frame rate counter on the screen, it's unlikely you're going to see a massive difference. But for me personally, I put a lot more trust into the Nvidia drivers, and also because I use Adobe Premiere and also OBS quite frequently, those are the sort of productivity tasks which the Nvidia card do seem to excel at. Now, some of you are possibly thinking, well, if you've got a GTX 1070, why are you upgrading to an RTX 2060? Why not go to a 2070 or more? Now, the reason behind that is because at the moment it is August 2020, and we're expecting the 3000 series to be launched anytime now. With all this uncertainty and also AMD's weird drivers, I couldn't go AMD at the moment, as much as I really wanted to keep it an all AMD system, but unfortunately I just can't put my trust there. Also, the 1070 is kind of showing its age, but having said that, even on eBay, taking a look at completed listings, there's a completely wide gamut of pricing on there. So sometimes the cards will go for less than £100 with possibly minor faults, but some of the 1070s actually will go for in excess of £250 to £300, which is absolutely mental. So I'm potentially going to sell that card to recoup the investment in this one, or I may keep it to go into another system. I have actually got another Radeon card in the system behind me, which is a little bit problematic at times, so maybe I'll put the 1070 in there just to keep the fans under control. That thing, it does a weird ramping thing with the fans, which I cannot get to the bottom of, but anyway, that is another story. But anyway, this has been the EVGA RTX 2060 KO. I'm really pleased with it. I can't wait to get it in the system and start using it and see what the improvements are like, and actually take full advantage of RTX and DLSS. So if you've got any comments or questions, stick them in the section below. But in the meantime, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.